We've all probably said the immortal line introducing the iconic super spy.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
For nearly 60 years, audiences around the world have seen the adventures of James Bond 007. My name is Steve, and I'm a massive fan of the Bond franchise. In honor of No Time to Die finally being released, I'm doing my rankings of the official Bond films. I remember as a kid watching TNN, later Spike TV, and then the Paramount Network, doing the 007 days of Thanksgiving and Christmas. Hell, I had a View to a Kill on Betamax. Kids, ask your parents. This list will be split up into two videos, each video covering half of the franchise. Never Say Never Again and the 1967 Casino Royale spoof will not appear on this list, as they're not part of the official franchise made by Eon Productions. My rankings are based on 7 factors: plot, villains, henchmen, allies, Bond women or leading ladies if you prefer, gadgets/cars, and the song. Starting at the bottom, 2008's Quantum of Solace. I remember seeing this movie at a midnight showing while I was in college, and left 2 hours later trying to figure out if I just watched a knockoff Bourne movie. Daniel Craig's sophomore outing picks up right after Casino Royale, which is a first for the franchise. The opening gun barrel we're used to is replaced by a frantic rapid-cut car chase/gunfight that ends with Bond delivering Mr. White for interrogation. From there, it just feels like it's scene to scene to advance the plot.
It's time to get out.
Dominic Green is not intimidating as the villain, nor is the sleazy General Medrano. The plot to have the CIA fund Medrano's coup in exchange for a large percentage of the zero oil in Bolivia makes no sense, and left me thinking if the CIA had anyone working in Bolivia to verify there was actually any oil in the country. Olga Kurylenko is out to kill Medrano in revenge for killing her family when she was a child, and while her character does not end up romantically involved with Bond, her character doesn't develop that much either. Gemma Arterton gets a few scenes of Strawberry Fields, only to end up as a poor knockoff to Jill Masterson's death in Goldfinger. The Writers Guild strike in the late 2000s reflect some of the issues here, as a few more runs of the script would have improved it. Gadgets are light, his allies don't feel like his allies, and the song by Jack White and Alicia Keys is okay but sadly forgettable. At least Felix's boss got a nice retirement package as a sheriff in Hawkins, Indiana after the events of the movie. Wait. While not an out-and-out revenge film, Die Another Day's absurdities put it at number 23 on my list. Bond is captured after a chase through the Korean DMZ and spends more than a year being tortured at the hands of the North Koreans before a prisoner exchange for the henchmen he disfigured in the pre-title sequence. One easy escape and some help from a Chinese agent later, he's in Cuba chasing down Zhao at a gene therapy clinic and now trying to connect conflict diamonds to some new mysterious rich guy in Gustav Graves, and suddenly there's a space laser involved with some plot to invade South Korea. Sure. This movie coming out on the 40th anniversary of the franchise in 2002, there are a ton of throwbacks to older and better films, including Halle Berry's Jinx emerging from the water like Honey Rider did in Dr. No. Toby Stephens does a decent turn as Gustav Graves, as does Rosamund Pike in her film debut as a bent MI6 agent. Side note, the traitorous agent seems to happen so often in spy films now, it's essentially a cliche. The problems come from all directions here, with the Americans trying to muscle their way onto the screen to be a part of the film, Mr. Kill as a henchman, and the overuse of bad green screen effects, not to mention the horrible dialogue, and Madonna's cameo in addition to a song which wasn't bad when it came out, but it seems to have gotten a little bit worse over time. From one Cold War into another, Diamonds Are Forever comes in at number 22 for me.
Where is Ernst Stavro Blofeld?
Another revenge outing for the spy, Bond is hunting Blofeld after the death of his wife Tracy. A plot involving diamond smuggling and using a Vegas casino for Blofeld to use a laser to target nuclear weapons around the world and auction off nuclear supremacy is something. Jill St. John as Tiffany Case isn't the worst Bond girl out there, but she's pretty bad, not to mention the horribly named Plenty O'Toole.
But of course you are.
Connery's age does show a bit in this film, especially during his fight with Bambi and Thumper. Highlights in this film for me include the duo of Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, who are good henchmen, as well as Q's electromagnetic RPM controller ring that helps him hit the jackpot at any slot machine and is something I'd love to have the next time I go to a casino. The car chases in this film come off as a bit absurd for me, going from the moon buggy chase to the chase on the Vegas Strip and the car somehow having a continuity error when it goes up on 2 wheels. The theme was the second of 3 Shirley Bassey did for the franchise, but admittedly it is not one of my favorites.
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin. Says speak, or forever hold your peace.
Number 21, The Man with the Golden Gun. This story was initially for 2 of the best killers in the world to face off, but more was needed to flesh out the story. The tacking on of a global energy crisis into the plot is lost on me, but it does fit for when the film came out in the 1970s. MI6 receives a golden bullet with Bond's code etched into its surface, and M immediately tasks Bond with hunting down Scaramanga, played wonderfully by Christopher Lee. The film takes Bond to a lot of Southeast Asian locations, leading to the two hunting each other on Scaramanga Island, while Knick-Knack eggs them both on. Britt Ekland as Mary Goodnight is a poor ally to Bond, as is Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who previously appeared in Live and Let Die as a racist Southern sheriff who is on vacation in Southeast Asia. The film's song is among my least favorite in the franchise, and one I always skip when listening to an old CD of Bond songs. The car jump scene is good, but the slide whistle is completely unnecessary.
Never heard of Evel Knievel?
By now, some of you might be asking where The World Is Not Enough falls on my list, and it's here at number 20. Another revenge plot, but it's the villains out for revenge after Electra King's kidnapping and subsequent ransom. Sophie Marceau is a great villain and Bond woman, but she's weighed down on the villain side by Robert Carlyle's Reynard, and flat out sunk in the leading ladies category by Denise Richards' portrayal as Dr. Christmas Jones.
I have to get it back, or somebody's gonna have my ass.
The plot to nuke Istanbul in order to take control of oil pipelines is a welcome twist on the nuclear angle we'd seen previously in Goldfinger, Thunderball, and Octopussy. We get final appearances from Desmond Llewellyn as Q and Robbie Coltrane's Valentin Zukovsky, plus a half-decent title song from Garbage. Yes, that is the band's name. While Brosnan's Bond comes off as darker than his previous films, almost on par at times with the Craig and Dalton outings, and some decent quips and gadgets, I see this could have been a great Bond movie. Weaknesses in a lot of the categories, including probably the longest pre-title sequence in the franchise, have it low on my list. At number 19, Moonraker. Following the release of Star Wars in 1977, producers changed the release order and put out Moonraker in 1979 instead of the planned For Your Eyes Only, which was teased at the end of The Spy Who Loved Me. Hugo Drax's plot to wipe out humanity and repopulate with a master race starts with the mid-air hijacking of a fictional version of the space shuttle. If the plot sounds a bit familiar, it's pretty close to the plot of The Spy Who Loved Me. Bond bounces around the globe before his journey into space to stop the plan. Jaws returns and has a few comedic moments as the henchman before turning and getting what I hope is his happily ever after.
Here's to us.
But outside of him, the henchmen are forgettable. Dr. Holly Goodhead, really, isn't that memorable, save for her line at the end of the film. We get the watch/wrist gun, and the Moonraker lasers are cool gadgets, but the movie is just overall meh to me. One fun fact, the real space shuttle had multiple delays during its development during the 70s, so Bond launched the space shuttle before NASA did. Heading into the 80s for the next few films, number 18 is A View to a Kill. Roger Moore's final outing puts the spy up against Max Zorin's plot to destroy Silicon Valley. Moore was well into his 50s when the film was in production, and sadly, it shows. The Beach Boys cover during the pre-title sequence pulls the viewer out of the moment, and while I see that it was trying to bring some youthful energy into Bond, it portrays how he acts the rest of the film. Christopher Walken's Zorin is KGB-tied, smart, and insane at the same time, and he's a good foil for Bond, but only if Bond was about 15 years younger. Grace Jones is a good henchwoman as Mayday, but Tanya Adams is unbelievable and really bad as Stacey Sutton, especially when she's screeching in the elevator shaft of a burning San Francisco City Hall. The gadgets are on the low end for me, but Duran Duran's song is in my top 5 easily. Another fun fact for this film, in the scene where General Gogol confronts Zorin at the racetrack, you can get a glimpse of a young Dolph Lundgren in the background who was dating Grace Jones at the time of filming.
I guess it's a farewell to arms.
Seeking revenge as the impetus for a Bond film doesn't sit that great with me, which is why License to Kill falls at number 17. After Felix Leiter is maimed and his wife murdered at the hands of drug lord Fran Sanchez, Bond's mission becomes personal. I have a soft spot for Dalton as Bond because he did good films as a spy, but I think they're often overlooked because he only did 2. Sanchez's cocaine smuggling operation includes mixing the drugs into gasoline, and he's using a televangelist played by Wayne Newton to communicate with Sanchez's customers in the United States. This idea is fairly intriguing, especially with the rise of televangelism in the 1980s. Also, of course, worth a mention is the very young Benicio del Toro working as one of Sanchez's henchmen. Carrie Lowell, who some people may remember from the original Law & Order, is a strong ally and Bond woman. Good gadgets surreptitiously supplied by Q, and a good Bond song by Gladys Knight help buoy the film, but the amount of violence, including blowing up a man's head in the decompression chamber, pulled me out of the film and had me looking away from the screen at times. Heading into the early half of the same decade, 1983's Octopussy comes in at number 16 on my list. Fake Fabergé eggs and a Soviet plot to detonate a nuke at a US military base and subsequent takeover of Europe sends Bond to India, but the pre-credit sequence is the most memorable part of the film for me. Bond infiltrates an airbase, presumably in Latin America, and after being captured and subsequently escaping, uses a plane hid in the back of a horse trailer to escape. Maud Adams makes her second appearance in the franchise as the titular Octopussy, and I had to completely rewatch this movie to get a feel for it. So much so, I completely forgot about Roger Moore dressed as a clown disarming a nuclear bomb toward the end. I wish I could forget that image, and now it's stuck in your head too. The title song in the credits I had to completely skip because I flat just didn't enjoy it. Had I remembered some aspects of the film more, it might be a little bit higher on my list, but for now, it's going to stay at number 16. Moving to the most recent entry of the franchise before No Time to Die, Spectre is at number 15. The film fully reintroduces the classic evil organization from the Connery era, but the movie trying to hide that Christoph Waltz was playing Blofeld was a waste. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch's John Harrison when he was really con waste. Waltz does a great take on the role previously done by Donald Pleasance, Telly Savalas, and Charles Gray, but that's all you really remember from the film because the plot is so forgettable. Like with Octopussy, I had to rewatch this film to remember the plot, and this movie came out in 2015. The retconning of Blofeld being behind all of the villainous plots in the Craig era makes no sense, especially when looking at Silva's plan in Skyfall, and making Blofeld and Bond long-lost foster brothers is just absurd. Léa Seydoux makes her first appearance as Madeline Swan and will be in No Time to Die, and the film starts to tie up events from the other Craig films. The Oscar-winning song from Sam Smith is right in his wheelhouse and great for Smith, but poor when compared to other Bond songs.
I think you got the point.
The plot to number 14 might ring a bell with younger viewers if you've watched the Austin Powers franchise.
Oh, hell, let's just do what we always do. Hijack some nuclear weapons and hold the world hostage.
Yeah, that's really the plot of Thunderball. Spectre steals 2 nuclear weapons and is holding the world hostage for £100 million in diamonds, else it will nuke a city in the United States or the United Kingdom. Both the plot and the gadgets are good, especially the jetpack used by Sean Connery in the pre-title sequence. Tom Jones's song is decent, but this film really takes time to get going and feels a lot longer than its 2-hour, 10-minute runtime. The story behind the development of this book, the film, legal battle between Kevin McClory and the series producers, and the awful remake of Never Say Never Again is an interesting read and worth digging into once you finish this video. Closing out this portion of the countdown has the first appearance of a notably darker Bond. The Living Daylights is my pick for number 13. With Roger Moore's departure from the franchise, Pierce Brosnan was originally tapped for the role, but NBC screwed him over by renewing Remington Steele for a 5th season and then canceling it once another actor had been selected. Timothy Dalton's aiding in the defection of KGB General Koskov puts Kara Malovy in his crosshairs, literally. Koskov is later abducted as part of his play to put the Brits and Soviets at odds, as well as to cover up his arms deal with Brad Whitaker, played by Joe Don Baker, who we will see again in the franchise. John Rhys Davies as General Pushkin takes over for General Gogol as the main Soviet contact, and the story starts to meander in the third act with an opium deal in Afghanistan and the Mujahideen teaming up with Bond. The movie really dates itself here, as we know the Mujahideen would eventually evolve into the Taliban. Aha's title song is enjoyable to me, and Miriam Diabo is adorable, but I almost wanted more for her than to be the damsel in distress, even with her toting the sniper rifle at the concert hall. Heading into the second half of the list, I know there are going to be some disagreements between your rankings and mine. Where do you rank the movies that have come out so far? Let me know what your rankings are in the comments section. The other half of this series will come out later this week. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and all the videos that come out on this channel. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next video.